back to Morning Footy. Here's a look at some of the notable MLS weekend results. The Crew with a dominant 4-0 win over Sporting Kansas City. LAFC 6-2 over the Earthquakes, which led to the sacking of Luchi Gonzalez. LA Galaxy get a statement 1-0 win on the road against Real Salt Lake, and the battle at the top of the West is really heating up right now. Hey, how about them Revs, Charlie Davies? 2-1 on the road against FC Cincinnati. Okay, they'll take that one. And now it's time for our reality checkup presented by Crest. And yeah, smile. Crest has got you covered. No smiling really happening right now for Sporting Kansas City fans, as they have been struggling. Only 3 wins, 5 draws, and 12 losses on the season. It has been disappointing, to say the least, as we take a look at their season resume, and it's not great. They've lost 10 of their last 11 matches, just 1 win, 44 goals allowed, which is second most in MLS, by the way, and they have also allowed 3+ goals 9 times, most in MLS. In their last 3 matches, all losses, they've given up 4 in each of those games. Lots to figure out, but Tony, the question anytime a team is in this run of form always comes to the manager and their job and how hot that seat is. What do you make of the situation right now happening with Sporting Kansas City?
Boy, I'll give this, I don't give it a lot. It's no bueno, all one word, right? And it's 14 games, I think, now with 1 win. Yeah. They just got rid of Brian Bliss yesterday, it was announced. He was the technical director and I guess vice president of player personnel, which is, I believe, where he started.
Why is he the scapegoat?
I was a little bit surprised. That's exactly where I was going to go. I was a little bit surprised that he was the one to go. And not that I'm advocating for firing anyone. I don't think Peter Vermes is getting fired. I said this yesterday. I said it a couple weeks ago. He's got 4 years left on his contract after this.
Isn't that a contract he gave himself?
Well, it was a contract that they signed him to at the beginning of the 2023 season, which, if you remember, Sporting went on a winless streak of 10 before turning it around and eventually making the playoffs. And, you know, you touched on not thinking Peter's going to get fired. The principal owner, Mike Illig, even came out in an article written by the Kansas City Star saying that they're sticking with Peter to lead this rebuild, and talked about the fact that 3/4 of this roster is out of contract at the end of 2024, some with a club option and some with not. And there's a lot of position groups and a lot of players that it sounds like, and he even said that they want Peter to lead that rebuild.
How long has this club been in a rebuild then, would be my answer.
Well, they were trying to figure it out with this particular group, and they clearly can't get it done. I mean, last year they got into the playoffs, credit to them, 41 points, I think, from a period of the season around halfway through to the end to make it and win on decision day. I think part of the reason you don't fire Peter Vermes, and I'm not trying to make, and people know he's a friend of mine, right? But I don't look at it in this regard like I wouldn't fire him if he didn't do a good job. If you're going to rebuild,
you are getting a lot of notifications on your phone.
Yeah, it's blown up. If you're going to rebuild right now, it's going to take you 2 years. If you're talking about overhauling, you guys know in this league.
Does he deserve to be that guy?
But the problem is, Tony, if you're going to rebuild, wouldn't you start fresh on a rebuild?
Well, they're telling us they're going to start fresh with players, right? I don't think in this league. First off, I don't know.
Also, do you spend that money to buy out Peter's contract?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have we seen a coach have a 5-year deal in this league? I really don't know. So you're going to have to buy him out, which is a lot of money. And then you got to now all of a sudden bring someone else in who has new ideas, who is now going to change, what did we say, 75% of this roster? And
which is when you should do it.
Which
takes like the right time to bring a new idea.
But they believe in him there. He's part of the fabric there, and I think that's what people need to understand in that club. He's helped build the stadium. He's helped build a training facility. Sure. Like in New Jersey, we say, they know where the bodies are buried, right? Yeah. In this thing. I mean, that's what it's come to.
No, that's a normal, nuns say that in New Jersey. The problem is all of those things are accomplishments he deserves credit for, but they're in the past now. What's sitting in front of us is a chance to give Peter Vermes another attempt at a rebuild. So he's going to 3/4 of this roster. He's going to go bringing folks in his vision. If that doesn't work, now you're really behind the ball.
Here's what I'll say. Peter Vermes, and rightfully so, has a very long leash with this club. We talk about hot seats. Well, who's controlling the seat warmer? Mike Illig doesn't want to let Peter Vermes go. He has 4.5 years left on his contract. I think they let him lead this rebuild. If it doesn't work, then I think there's a serious conversation.
Doesn't mean he's not involved with the club somehow. There's a seat for him forever if he wants in this club.
But does Peter want that?
Yeah,
but that doesn't mean he has to be the head coach.
I mean,
He wants to coach, and he said that before.
And you know what? I want a model, okay? And there's a reason why I
And
don't.
you did. You got to with New York City FC, so shut your
In this day and age in Major League Soccer, is it right for someone to have that much control of a club?
I mean, that's up to an owner to decide.
Sporting director
I haven't seen it.
and the head coach.
We haven't seen it.
What?
I mean, but he's built this to a point where that's the roles he was given by the owners of his club.
I would build that for myself too if I could.
But
That's
you
true.
have to have a lot of equity.
10-year contract. Oh, wow. Okay, here we go.
You have to have a lot of equity to do that, and he's got equity from winning an MLS Cup, winning Lamar Hunt Open Cup.
What year was that?
Yeah, just when's the last?
Well, and the
Open
reality
Cup?
is the last trophy that Sporting
2013.
Kansas City won was 2017 when they won the U.S.
17.
Open Cup.
But 13 was MLS Cup.
13 was the last MLS
Yeah.
Cup.
So that's 12 years ago?
Yeah. Hey, let's
11
talk
years
about
Yeah.
let's talk about another team with a tenured coach that's struggling right now, and that is the Philadelphia Union and Jim Curtin, who has found himself on the hot seat. Here's a look at their season resume right now. At home, they've been really poor. 1 win, 3 draws, 6 losses, and currently sitting 11th in the Eastern Conference with 4 wins, 8 draws, 7 losses. A lot of draws this season. And they've also dropped 10 points from winning position, which is never a stat line you want to see surrounding your team. And there have been a lot of fans pointing to Jim Curtin, Chuck, as someone that they'd like to see move on from the club. What's your feeling on where the Union are at and where they need to go?
Well, Jim Curtin, 2020, first place. 2022, second place. Or 2021, second place. 2022, Supporter Shield champions. 2023, fourth place. He's built a winning organization, and he hasn't had much to work with it.
you.
This isn't a Union side that invests heavily on these big player signings. They go out and they get the right bargains in Europe. They also have to mix in youth development. There's not a better coach in Major League Soccer when it comes to bringing in young kids and managing experienced professionals. I've seen Jim Curtin as a young manager grow into a well-respected, around the league, top guy. He's one of the nicest people you ever come across. And I think he's learned a lot throughout the process of how to manage a club and all the ins and outs of dealing with young players and dealing with experienced players, and that's a lot. And I think he's at a position where you give him time. If you're talking about giving somebody a leash, that's a coach you give a leash to.
His seat
not
is
a
not
Peter
warm.
Vermes who's had 12 years between an MLS Cup and now. Jim Curtin is someone that you say, all right, I'll give you time. You deserve the time.
More than
You've
time.
gotten to an MLS Cup. You've gotten us to Supporter Shield, recent progress. You look at the sporting director of getting him more players to come in and make a difference. That's the guy that you want behind a rebuild if you're ever going to rebuild.
I also may have been misremembering. Were the fans more upset with Jim Curtin or the owner?
No, the owner.
Okay.
Jim Curtin is sitting on a big block of ice. That's how cold his seat is. He does not deserve to have a heated seat. This front office deserves to be in an interrogation room. Why have you not given this man more to work with? When you've given him crumbs, he's made a cake.
And my point
every single
with
time.
Ernst
Give
Tanner
him
is
more.
I don't think he's on the hot seat. And if there was one person to go, if you had to make a decision, the sporting director always has the leverage. And so he would, if he has to make a decision between him and Jim Curtin, I think it's always going to be Jim is the one to go. And I don't think they've always had the best relationship. And that's another part of it is Jim's doing the best he can given what he has. So from that standpoint,
I don't think he's on the hot seat. I'd be
No, he's
really
not.
surprised.
I don't think he's on the hot seat.
And I think one of the telltales with managers in this league, if he got fired today, he'd have a job tomorrow.
Exactly.
Oh,
Whatever job was
100%.
open, Jim Curtin's name would be in that job because he'd be coveted around the league. I think
San Jose be picking up the phone.
I think
and he would
personality.
put the phone back there.
Yeah, he'd be like, "No, you blocked. This says scam likely on my phone for some reason."
They would be. I think they would be crazy right now to get rid of Jim Curtin.
That's a ridiculous.
Especially
move
given
to
how
do it.
recent, as you mentioned, Chuck, that success has been for the Philadelphia Union. Either way, they're
Atlanta
going to need to
United.
turn it around. 11th place in the Eastern Conference.